Shout out to Willis HL on Twitter for tagging me in this post. And I don't think I've done a video on Jim Clyburn yet on my channel. I may have mentioned him in passing, but I don't think I've ever done a video on him. I may have and I may have not, but I try to keep these kind of videos at minimum, but they just make for some interesting commentaries that sometimes you just can't pass over, and this one I could not do. So Jim Clyburn has come out and said something even more ridiculous. I can't say the most ridiculous because it seems like his ridiculousness just continues to evolve like a Pokemon each and every day. So the latest that has come from Jim Clyburn is he feels that in order to heal racial wounds in America, that he feels that making the Black national anthem, which is Lift Every Voice and Sing, the official American national anthem, replacing the Star Spangled Banner or the national anthem. I'm trying to figure out, how is that supposed to heal anything? And when you think about it at its core, that was a song that was made by a Black person for Black people. And when you think about the music industry and how Black people have lost their creative edge because their music has been sold off to palm-colored people in order for a gain, in order to gain something financially, but then at the end, what did it really cost you besides, your creative property? Now the music is tainted. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this will not work, and I highly doubt that it'll go through. Remember when they kept trying to say, oh, let's put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill? I'm like, what is that supposed to do? Like, this is more, so basically this is more quote unquote symbolism that will mean absolutely nothing. I'm gonna need a lot of Black people to get off of this symbolism train and feeling that if something symbolic was to come out from you to the masses, that is going to work. It doesn't work. We've tried that so many times, and it has shown time and time again that it does not work. I'm gonna go ahead and read this article coming from USA Today to see what else it's talking about. U.S. Representative James Clyburn wants a song about faith and resilience, long reversed in the Black community, to become the national hymn and help toward uniting the country after centuries of racial turmoil. He needs to retire. He needs to resign. He needs to step down and just sit somewhere in a corner and be quiet. Clyburn, the House Majority Whip, plans to introduce a measure as early as this week that would make Lift Every Voice and Sing, known as the Black national anthem, the national hymn, and give it a special place alongside the country's anthem, Star Spangled Banner. So basically what you're saying is, if this thing gets approved, that means that every event where the national anthem is sung or sang, that this will be sang along with it, is what you're saying. See, more symbolism like that. Let me continue. To make it a national hymn, I think would be an act to bringing the country together. It would say to people, you aren't singing a separate national anthem, you are singing the country's national hymn, said Clyburn, the highest ranking Black American in Congress, and still ain't doing a damn thing for Black people, but okay. But he's still having them fish fries. The gesture itself would be an act of healing. Everybody can identify with that song. The song is an important part of African American culture and history. For decades, it has been sung in Black communities at schools, plays, awards programs, graduation, and church services. Clyburn said it's time for it to also be sung in other communities. But the thing is, the song Lift Every Voice and Sing is really talking about Black people specifically. It wouldn't sound right if other communities sang it. When you think about it, every time you heard a Black person, someone singing that song, it was usually a Black person singing it for the most part. And when you think about the words and the lyrics of the song, it's really talking about the plight of Black people, not the plight of every person. See, this is another reason why people like Jim Clyburn and all those other ones need to step down, because they are on this, oh, we need to extend our arms to everyone. This is some all lives matter crap right here. At its core, this is, you know how people say Black people can't have anything? Because you have people like him, the person you see on your screen, who is willing to just give it all away just to have everybody, quote unquote, love them. We are fine with everyone not loving us. And maybe it's a good thing that everyone embraces us. Maybe that's a good thing. Because we've seen what happens over the years when we get embraced by everyone, or when we embrace everyone. The push comes at a time of social unrest, particularly protests over police killings of unarmed black men and women and the devastating impact of the novel virus on communities of color. It also comes on the heels of a deadly attack by supporters of 45 on the U.S. Capitol Wednesday that sent lawmakers scrambling to secure locations and police clamoring to protect them. 5, including a Capitol police officer, died. Some experts and historians say the legislative push is more about symbolism and will do little to address systemic problems plaguing communities of color. Well, let's just say black people. And I agree with that statement. I just said it. They said that this is more about symbolism. And I said that before I even read this. And it will do little to address systemic problems. Exactly. Symbolism does not address the problem at hand. Symbolism is just saying, oh, we put you here. Now people can see you. And that's all it really does. It doesn't really address the core issue. And that shows you right there the fact that this is what he wants to bring to the table means that he shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. If this is what he has to bring. It's symbolically notable for black people, but in the larger scheme of things, this isn't going to put food on people's tables. It's not going to increase people's pay, said Michael K. Fauntleroy, a political scientist at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Finally, somebody with some sense. Fauntleroy said he worries some people, particularly African Americans, can sometimes overstate the importance of symbolic victories and substitute that for more structural changes. I don't want that to happen here. Facts. That's another thing. There's so much symbolism that goes on in our communities. Like, for example, when they say, oh yeah, the first black person to do this, the first black person to do that. But that is fine for that person in that moment. That doesn't really last that long unless it has something to completely change the trajectory of history. Now, you find a black person out there that miraculously found the cure for AIDS or cancer or something like that, then that's something really, really worth highlighting. But this song, that's nothing to, jump for joy for. And I don't think many black people are going to be like, yay, or throw a parade over it. Like, okay. But what does that do in the grand scheme of things? Nothing. Clyburn said the effort is far more than symbolic, saying he aims to add weight to it as a national hymn. Okay. And then what? It's a very popular song that is steeped in the history of the country. Okay. And then what? See, he's very surface level, and he's barely even scratching the surface at that. He actually thinks that this is going to really change the racial and systemic issues going on in the nation. Lift Every Voice and Sing was first written as a poem by James Weldon Johnson, an NAACP leader, in 1899, and later put to music by his brother John Rosamond Johnson. It was first performed in public by schoolchildren in 1900 at a birthday celebration honoring former President Abraham Lincoln. How about that? The first time the song ever is performed as a song is in front of a former slave owner. The NAACP would later adopt it as its official song. Clyburn noted its early label as the Negro National Anthem. I've always been skittish about that, he said. We should have one national anthem irrespective of whether you're black or white. So to give due honor and respect to the song, we ought to make it the national hymn. The song was written during another tumultuous period for black people, said Howard Robinson, an archivist at Alabama State University and a member of the steering committee for ASU's National Center for Study of Civil Rights and African American Culture. Black Americans were being lynched. Jim Crows were entrenched. The song does not romanticize America's past, said Robinson, referring to lyrics such as full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. But Robinson also noted optimism in lyrics like the hope that present has brought us. The song speaks to the people who suffered through the chastening rod, he said. I think that the song is a different look at America, is more critical look at America while at the same time being optimistic about our present and future. Making the song a national hymn for all Americans is one way to acknowledge the plight of black people and the systemic racism they still face. How? Especially since the song has been around since the late 1800s. And we're still in the same position. How does a song change that? It's not tangibles. It's not reparations. This is someone right here on your screen you do not have a conversation about reparations with. There's no better time than now, said Robinson, noting how BLM protests over racial injustice and inequities resonated last summer in America and around the world. The song was sung at some of those protests. The NFL announced last year that it would play Lift Every Voice and Sing in the Star Spangled Banner before Week 1 games. Alicia Keys performed the song in a video. Over the years, many celebrities, including Beyonce, have performed the song. The late Reverend Joseph Lowry, a civil rights icon, quoted some of its verses when he delivered the benediction at former President Barack Obama's inauguration in 2009. Adopting it as a national hymn is an important step toward normalizing and codifying it as a central part of our history, said Nolan Williams, Jr., a composer, producer, and cultural curator. It really should become a piece that we as a nation recognize and honor for what it means, not just for African Americans, but for Americans, Williams said. The plight of African Americans is a central part of American history. Oh my God, this is so cringe. I want y'all to know that. Reading what I'm reading right now is so cringe. Because right now they're really not talking about quotes from Clyburn. Now it's talking about from these two other clowns. Clyburn said he had been considering the measure for decades. Last month, he asked his staff to craft legislation. The 4-page bill obtained by USA Today cites the song's history and calls it a beloved hymn. Ever since I've been in Congress, I've been trying to come up with enough nerve to introduce a national hymn, Clyburn said during a private discussion for journalists of color earlier this month. I hope I can survive and see it pass. Since 1973, 6 bills have been introduced in Congress to designate songs, including God Bless America and America the Beautiful, as a national hymn, but none of them passed into law, according to the U.S. Senate Historical Office. Now, if those don't pass into law, and those are more well known on a national, and some of those are even sung at events alongside the national anthem. Hell, if a Canadian team is playing an American team and vice versa, they'll have someone come out and do the Canadian national anthem. But you'll find that mostly happens in hockey. You'll only have that one time with basketball because of the Toronto Raptors. The Star Spangled Banner was officially adopted as the national anthem in 1931. Anthems are often patriotic songs. Hymns are more religious and songs of praise. Williams said while he appreciates the Star Spangled Banner symbolizes, he recognizes flaws in the song, including verses that reflect entrenched racism that has plagued the nation. Maybe what Clyburn is doing is pushing our country to have yet another inconvenient conversation about a subject matter that is just hard for us to grapple with. It said Williams, who composed and directed a voting rights anthem, I Have a Right to Vote, released last summer. Clyburn said his measure is not intended to take away from the national anthem, which he said he sings and still remembers the good feeling of playing it long ago on his clarinet. He noted that Lift Every Voice is also known outside of black communities. He recalled years ago standing next to former President Bill Clinton, who knew every word of that song. He sang it better than anybody in the room. Why am I not surprised that he said that? He probably thinks that Bill Clinton played the sax better than black people too, when he saw him perform it on Arsenio. In a letter to colleagues, Clyburn said making it the national hymn would recognize an important part of the American experience and the possibility of unity. Clyburn said he hopes for extensive bipartisan support in both chambers. Robinson of Alabama State University said he would be surprised if the effort is well received by lawmakers and a majority of Americans. For the whole nation to embrace this song as a way to understand our collective history, that's a tall order, he said. Still, Robinson said the nation is in a period of reflection, which might generate more support. Some people are more receptive to looking at the past, not from rose-colored glasses, but through a prism that sees elements of the past as both painful and exploitive, but also one that produced heroes and resiliency. But yeah, this seems like a pipe dream to me. And if let's just hypothetically say they allowed this to pass, what is that going to change? But you can tell that when people like Jim Clyburn introduce something like this and think this is going to change something, you can tell he has no fight in him. Because this is a toss away type of thing. This is too easy to do. They can easily do this, no matter if they get pushback or not. Which there will definitely be some pushback. But they know that it's nothing going to come from this. And this shows you right here that why a lot of people say they don't take black people seriously. Because what is this? What, like, really, what is this? Do you see any other group out there pushing for a song that they love, or a song that represents their community, trying to push it to be alongside another song? No. So I hope that they don't pass this. I really don't, because this is a joke. And I don't even like, outside of Whitney Houston's version of the song, I don't, or rendition of that song, I don't like the song. I'm just saying. As a kid, had to always hear it, but then when you learned about the history of that song and what it broke down and what it meant, it pulls you out of it, especially as a black person. But yeah, Jimmy Clyburn, this is all he has. He doesn't talk about tangibles. He doesn't talk about reparations, anything that could benefit black people on a financial scale. But let's just, put the black national anthem alongside the main one, and call it the national hymn, because, black people are going through so much. Of course, black people are going through so much, but a song is not going to fix that. But he seems to believe that, and those other two clowns that I was reading about in the article seem to believe that's the only way black people in the nation can heal, is through a song. And like I said, it goes back to, a lot of industries getting their hands on black intellectual property and twisting it into their own thing. And then that comment about him saying that he heard Bill Clinton singing a song and singing it better than anyone in the room. And like I said, I expect him to say that. This is the type of person Jimmy Clyburn is. But this is a joke. I don't take it seriously. I don't think they'll take it seriously either. And even if they were to approve this, that's still not going to change anything. It's really not. But they'll approve this a lot faster than reparations, because this is too easy to do. They don't have to really give anything for this. And that's the problem. When we do stuff like this, we're not, well, not me, because I don't include myself with the they, and Jimmy Clyburn is part of they. When you don't push hard and like really fight for what you want, all it's going to do is make them pull back even more. And when it's really time to come to the table, they're already gone. Too little, too late. That's why we don't need people like Jimmy Clyburn speaking for us. But because he has a position, they'll always put him there, and they will always prop a person like him up, because he doesn't push through that. He doesn't push through that barrier. He's a fence straddler and barely straddles that fence. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't done so already, please text that number that will be pinned down in the comments below so you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video. And I'll talk to you in the next one.